on Friday night. I'm gonna blow it all away. I can't wait for the weekend to begin.
Michael Gray, can't wait for the weekend to begin. It's Wednesday, for goodness sake. But still today, Champions League Pop Master beginning at 10:30. Alicia Keys' album and the tracks in my ears chosen by Jacqueline Wilson. Radio 2, BBC Sounds app, smart speaker, 88 to 91 FM.
BBC News at 10 o'clock. This is Adam Porter. Ministers are urging people to use common sense so they don't have to call out an ambulance today when workers at most services in England and Wales are on strike. Union members have walked out over pay and working conditions, but have insisted they will still respond to life-threatening situations. Our chief political correspondent Nick Eardley says the discussions going on behind the scenes are focusing on a couple of potential compromises to resolve the dispute.
I do think there are potentially two things that could be olive branches. One is next year's pay deal. The government seems to be making some hints that it's prepared to look at tweaking that, maybe a slightly bigger pay rise for NHS staff there, although unions want it to be this year, so they're not convinced by that plan. The other one that the unions have opened the door to is a one-off payment.
Higher interest on debt and cost of living payments to households have driven up government borrowing to its highest monthly figure for November since records began in 1993. Last month it reached £22 billion compared with £13.9 billion last year. Members of the Scottish Parliament will be attempting to complete their debate on gender equality legislation later on today. The Scottish Government says the bill will ensure dignity for trans people. But Rachel Hamilton, who's a Conservative MSP and the Scottish Conservative Equalities spokesperson, has concerns.
I believe that that's going to remove key safeguards, not only safeguards for vulnerable and young people, but also safeguards for women, because I believe that this process could open the door to violent or predatory men to abuse this system in order to access potential victims.
The Taliban have posted armed guards at university campuses in Afghanistan to prevent hundreds of women going in after suspending higher education for female students. Videos on social media have shown students dressed in hijabs standing near their colleges, hugging and consoling each other. The UN and several countries, including the United States, have condemned the move. Scientists believe they found the first known example of a mammal being eaten by a dinosaur. Paleontologists identified a tiny crow-sized foot behind the fossilised 120-million-year-old ribcage of a Microraptor in China. Dr. David Hone from Queen Mary University of London said he hadn't seen it at first.
The fossil had been dug up and studied before by Chinese researchers, and at the time I was based in China working as a postdoc, and my Canadian colleague was over visiting and basically did that kind of double take and said, what's that? That's a foot. There's a mammal in this. And I was kind of like, no, I've looked at that one. I'd have spotted that. And no, I hadn't spotted it. And he was dead right. And yeah, it was just kind of a shock of a few seconds of processing it.
Bob Dylan has been offered a cameo on Coronation Street after revealing he's a fan. The soap's producer said he envisioned the 81-year-old musician rolling into an open mic night at the Rovers' return and doing a turn on the karaoke with Ken Barlow and Rita Sullivan. BBC News, it's 3 minutes past 10.
Another love rival for Ken Barlow. Young, too.
Listen live on the BBC Sounds app.